So what we're going to start looking at today is different ways that you might promote your site. So let's assume you've made a site and put it on the web. We're going to look at the different ways that you can encourage people to come to it. So you have to make it easy to find, and there are a number of ways that people can come by your site. So there are directories and search engines. They're the two things we're going to look at most. We're also going to look a bit at ads, and you're going to learn a lot about ads if you're doing the GMOC or GOMC. Social networking is increasingly important as a way of people finding your site. So the marketing manager for Photo Island, for example, the zoo, I saw a post from him recently saying that just the ratio of people that find photo via Facebook rather than Google was very high. So increasingly social networking is becoming important, and the Facebook even is trying to get into the search business a bit. So you might be interested in restaurants, and the key factor for you might be the fact that lots of your friends like that restaurant. That might be more use to you than all of the reviews and all of the other information about that. So what your friends like is becoming increasingly important. We might look at some of that. Now, the first thing I'm going to look at in this today is internet directories. And internet directories are not unlike giant digital yellow pages where you have various things listed by category. So unlike a search engine, which is concerned with the contents of your page based on search terms, a directory's job is to help you find sites based on what they're about. So the category that the site belongs to. So a site might be about skateboarding, and that's all you know about it. There may be specific terms associated with that you could have found using Google, but it's a site about skateboarding, and that's all you know, and you're interested in it on that basis. So this here is a screenshot, probably an old one from the looks of things, from DMOZ, which is the Open Directory project. And this is a big online directory of sites. So imagine if you were looking for stuff about digital video, okay? You'd look here at the different categories, and what this directory has done is that it's broken up the whole world into subsections. So arts, games, kids, reference, shopping, business, health, news, and computers is one of them. If we were interested in finding sites about digital video, well, computers looks like the place to look there. So we'd click on computers, and then we'd get into the computer section, and there are subcategories then inside in the computers section. And looking around, it's not entirely obvious, but multimedia is probably the best choice there. Although we'd be hard pushed to say what multimedia is if someone asked us. But then we click on multimedia, and then it turns out there's actually a section called digital video in there. And so we click on that, and we get a list of sites then on digital video, about digital video. And you know what, they're actually in alphabetical order. They're not even ranked in any particular shape or form. So that's quite a different experience to using a search engine, where you put in the terms you're looking for and you find all the pages with those terms. And a directory has a number of features that make it quite a different beast from a search engine. Now, to have your site listed on a directory, you have to actually submit it. So whereas most search engines will find you eventually, A directory, you have to you have to basically apply to have your page listed. And someone will go look at it and they'll check it for quality. They'll check it to see if it's unique enough, if it adds anything that isn't already there. I mean, if you have a site in digital video and all you've done really is copied and pasted bits from the other sites in digital video, well, you're not adding anything. There's no added value there. So it might decide not to include it. And it might not be appropriate. You know, there might be things in it that don't fit the category or whatever. So various other criteria. And so if your site is of sufficiently good quality, they'll include it. Now, who's they? Well, typically they are volunteers. So if you were big into skateboarding, you might volunteer to maintain the skateboarding section. So it's run a bit like Wikipedia in that there are volunteers looking after different parts, but you'd probably have a say on it would come down to you what goes in and what doesn't. And so the Open Directory project is the most successful of these, and that plans to be the largest human-edited directory in the internet. Now, the human interaction there is a key feature. We could speculate what percentage of stuff on the web is pure shite. You know, but I'd say it's more than 30. Might even be much, much higher than that. So if a human somewhere has actually looked at this site and said, wow, okay, this is kind of good, this is relevant, this is of good quality, it offers something that wasn't there already in the directory, well, you're already like ahead of the curve in terms of quality and finding what you want. Because people are generally quite smart and can detect, you know, crap and spam and waffle and not very useful stuff very, very easily. So in looking at something on a directory, you're already, you know, in the bonus round nearly. Also, using a directory is a very different experience from the user's point of view. If you're interested in a topic, you can browse through the directory, hone in a bit on, well, home in on precisely the thing that you're looking for. So you might have a general idea of what it is you're interested in. You might see there are subcategories and you go, okay, so this subject breaks up into these different categories. You look again, there might be more subcategories. And then you get the list of sites and you can browse, you can have a poke around. Take, for example, digital video. You might not know very much about digital video. So you don't even know what you don't know. So you don't even really maybe know what terms to search for in Google apart from digital video. Whereas if you go to a directory and you look at the things about digital video, you can have a poke around, you can browse. So whereas the search engine is a bit like going to Amazon, putting in the title of the book you want and buying it and getting it out the door, a directory is more like going into a bookshop and sort of, you know, having a browse. So like you found books that you're interested here, well, you know, the ones slightly to the left and the ones slightly to the right, they might be of interest too. For this module, for example, web publishing, I mean, if before you started this module you wanted to kind of have an idea of what kind of things might be in it, as no doubt I did too, like Googling web publishing isn't going to really get you anything. Whereas going through DMOZ, for example, and poking around the web publishing section, you might get ideas for the kind of things that are involved. You might discover, for example, that search engine optimization is a part of publishing a website. You wouldn't have known to Google search engine optimization to even find it. So it can be a very good way to read around the subject. So that's why people like directories, and their main benefit from the user's point of view is the ability to browse and also the quality. If a human somewhere thinks it's good, that's maybe half the crap on the web already out of the picture. Now, the Open Directory project then shares its data with other entities. You can download the whole caboodle if you want yourself and do whatever you want with it. It's open source, so you can take the whole lot away. But also it shares its content with other directories and other search engines. So Google, for example, uses information from DMOZ. Because Google can look at a page and see all the words that are in that page and know that if someone is looking for a page with those words, that's a good page for them to go to. It's a harder, more subtle thing to know what the page is about, where it fits into sort of what section or subsection of the sum of human knowledge it belongs in. So Google can use the search terms and also information from the Open Directory project to improve its results. Because if a person somewhere looked at this, thought it was good, and thought it belonged in the sculpture section of arts, well, that somebody thinks has got something to do with sculpture is information that Google can use. A web page about sculpture might not have the word sculpture in it, for example. So, as it turns out, we'll see in a second, as it turns out, I'll do it in a second when I come to it, but there's quite a lot of interaction between the different search engines sharing and swapping data. So the main advantages of a directory are the quality, and that's the main one really, and the ability to browse, and also just the filtering. If I put a search into Google and I come back and it comes back to me with 2,000 or 3,000 pages that have those search terms, well, like yip-de-doo, like, but what am I going to do with 3,000 pages? 3,000 websites? It's not like I'm going to go through them all. So if somebody, if a directory, for example, decided that it had like 200 pages for digital video, and someone came along and wanted their digital video website included, and someone looked at it, and being familiar with the 200 that were already there, said, well, there's nothing in this that isn't in the others, really. Do you know? It doesn't really add anything to what we have already. Well, that's saving you then going to do it. I mean, if you go to a directory and there's 200 web pages on 200 websites on a topic, well, you could maybe figure out that, well, if I look at those 200, that's probably all there is really. 200 websites instead of the entire selection that Google might come back might be a huge time-saving device instead of saving you looking at everything. Some disadvantages are that you might not always get your site listed. Even if it's quite good, it might not be unique enough. So that can be a problem. And there might not be as many sites listed on the web, on the directory, as there would be, say, in Google. So you might not get everything, but there is an argument, but you might have everything there is worth getting. So it's a trade-off. But it can be a great way if you're starting out in a subject to have a poke around. So that's directories. Search engines then are what we're more familiar with. So search engines, things like Google, Bing, Yahoo, whatever. So you type in your terms into a search engine and it comes back with a list of pages. And the success really then of a search engine depends on how high up the list of results an appropriate page for your terms is listed. So if you started up a new search engine and somebody did a search for something and the first 10 pages, the first 10 sites weren't actually relevant to what they wanted, well, you know, they'd be moving on fairly quickly to the next one. And that has happened some search engines. There was one called Cool, C-U-I-L, and it was the new big thing. And like, you know, people got fed up with it fairly quickly when it didn't do what they wanted. So, since search engines can come back with thousands and thousands of results, really, your measure of how good a search engine is how many sites you have to wade through to find what you're looking for. And at this stage, we've all learned that Google is pretty good at getting you what you want. It's freaky good, you know. And so that's why we're not as inclined then to give Bing a go or to bother with Yahoo so much. So once people begin to trust a search engine, they stay with it. So in Google, you search in a term. This is kind of an old-looking screen. I think typographically they've changed slightly, but anyway. So you type in your search terms into Google, and it comes back then with a whole page of links to websites. Over on the right then, very, very clearly marked, very, very separate from the search results are the sponsored links. So these are ads then that people have paid to have display here. Although typically they only pay if you click on them, actually. And so someone thinks that people who are typing in the term multimedia, and clearly, in this case, multimedia, and they're in Ireland, people typing in multimedia might be interested in these products and services. Now, it isn't that Google has decided if you're looking for that search term, you might want to buy these things. It's the advertisers have decided if you're searching for those things, if you're using those search terms, maybe you want to buy our products. And so that's where Google makes its money then. And very often, if you are looking for something, the paid advertising, you know, is reasonably relevant. Google has managed to maintain our trust by making a clear distinction between the organic search results and the paid results. So if your site was appearing on the next page and you wanted it to appear on the first page when you did a search, there's no amount of money you could pay Google to make that happen. They don't take money for that. They basically recommend sites to people based on their search terms and what other information they have, and that's it. And they're very big on keeping the trust of people, that they're giving you what they think is the most relevant thing to your search term. And so you can't pay them really to change their minds. Now, as we're going to see, there are things you can do that might move you higher up the rankings by helping Google understand what your page is about and understand that your page is relevant to those search terms, and also to believe that your page is of good quality. So Google ranks pages here, and we're going to look at this issue in great detail, but Google ranks the pages here based on what it thinks is relevant. And it would use a number of factors. Obviously, the search terms that the person typed in. I mean, if you type in multimedia, it wouldn't want to be coming back with pizza. You know, obviously it has to be relevant. Increasingly, Google knows where you are. So if you do type in a search, for pizza and you're in Bishopstown, it's not going to list some pizza place in Ranelagh in Dublin, because that's no good to you for pizza. If you're looking to buy books or something, then maybe an online bookshop in Ranelagh obviously is relevant, but pizza isn't. And increasingly, Google knows more and more about you. So if you are looking for something and maybe your sex or your age or your location or your hobbies are relevant, if Google knows those things, it can apply that to the search as well. So increasingly, two people sitting next to each other doing the same search terms will get different results because of what the Google knows about them. Okay. Now, so there are a whole bunch of different search engines. Obviously, you've heard of Google. And many people used Alta Vista. That was my favorite for years. Yahoo was kind of the first big one, and the one that made it big and made big money. Baidu is a Chinese one. Interestingly, you know, some things, you know, you won't find on Baidu. So you're like, if you're looking for the Dalai Lama's webpage, you know, Baidu is the wrong place to go searching for that. Things like that, you know. And then Bing is Microsoft's one. And Microsoft is kind of coming a bit late to the search engine party, but it does have the money, does have the resources, and it does have lots of brainy people, you know, so maybe it can give it a go. So this is what I was talking a little bit about earlier, that if you click on if you get the slides on the web and you click on that link there, it'll probably take you straight to this. This is an interactive slide on the web, shows you how the different search engines connect and use each other. So for example, Google receives information from DMOZ. Oh, I can see now on your screen the yeah. One of the colors is missing from the projector. That's why it's so faint as well. Anyway, DMOZ gives information to Google. Google gives information then to other things. So like some smaller search engines or sites have been bought by the others and things like that. So they're all connected up in various different ways. So you can go along there and have a look if you want and see how one connects to the other. But I was saying though, you can see why what humans think is a good site and belongs in a certain category, that's information Google can use. Now, so I'm going to talk a little bit about how search engines work. Okay? And we need to understand how search engines work so we can make the most of them in terms of promoting our site. So many people are surprised to learn that when you do a search in Google, Google doesn't go search the web there and then on the spot. That would actually take too long. Despite having many, many resources, Google is still constrained by the laws of physics, and to search the whole web instantly would take some time. It's big and it's geographically diverse. So what Google actually searches is the copy it made of the web. So Google makes and all the other search engines, they make a copy of the web called an index. And then when you go searching for a term or terms, it compares the information it has in the index with your search terms and then figures out what sites you might be interested in. So the way that index works then, that's going to affect the success of the search engine. And so there are a number of things to consider there. But the most important thing is remember that Google has a copy of the web. You can imagine that's no mean feat. You know, that wouldn't fit on your hard disk at home like. So the larger the index, the longer it's going to take to search, and the more resources it's going to take to collect it and to store it. So if you have a huge index of every single thing on the web, that's going to be big. But of course, the larger it is as well, then the more likely it is going to have the page that you're looking for. So some search engines might decide they're going to index every single page of every single site and every single nook and cranny of each of those websites. Others might decide, we're just going to go to a site, figure out quickly what that site is about, and then if someone was looking for those things, we'll send them to that site. So it can vary. The main thing, though, is that the bigger your search, like the bigger your index, the more search term, the more that terms are going to come back with lots of sites. I mean, if you have 10 times as many sites indexed as, the next search engine over, well, you're going to come back with 10 times as many results when someone does a search. That's not necessarily a good thing. If I'm a user of that website and I do a search and you come back with 200 pages and I go to the next one, they come back with 2,000 pages, well, that's too many for me. So it's very, very important to search engines that, as well as finding all of the sites that might be relevant, that they rank them in order of relevance, so that when you put in your search terms and you get a list on the front page, that the thing you're looking for is there, handy. You don't have to go 4 or 5 pages in. I mean, I can't remember the last time I went 4 or 5 pages in Google. Except when I was Googling myself, of course, but that doesn't count. So, we want Google to kind of know exactly what we're looking for and to have it there right up at the top. So you can see, if you have a website and you want customers, you really, really want to be as high up as possible, because people have an expectation now that you'll be on that first page or second page. And so the mechanism then by which websites or search engines like Google decide where to place sites in the rankings, they're very important to understand. And for the most part, the whole thing is secret, but they do tell you some of the most important things, and we're going to look at those. But you can imagine, if you use a search engine and you search for something, and the first page, every single thing there is not at all what you're looking for, you probably won't go to the second page. You just go back to Google or Bing or whatever you're used to, whatever you trust. So the relevance is very important. It's not just a question of how big the index is. It has to have an algorithm for deciding how relevant things are to your search. The next thing then is the currency of the index. If you're going to make a copy of the web, well, how often do you go and do that? I mean, do you go once a week, once a month, once a day? If you go once an hour, you need lots of resources and lots of money and lots of storage space. So what many search engines do is they look at how frequently a site changes. So I have some sites that haven't changed since 2000 anyway. So, Google isn't in a mad rush to come back to some of my stuff, because if it hasn't changed in about 10 years, well, if we go next week or the week after, we'll be all right, Whereas something like CNN is going to change every minute. The BBC News site is going to change every minute. So that can be a problem. So search engines usually figure out as well, looking at your site, how quickly they need to come back. Another problem then is that now with things like Facebook and Twitter, people updating their status all the time, if people want search engines to be able to search Twitter and Facebook, then some of the searches might have to be even in real time or close to real time, and they're going to have to go back very, very often. So that's very challenging for for search engines to keep up to date with everyone's tweets and everyone's Facebook posts and things like that. Okay? Now, so how then do the search engines actually go and get the data? Well, we're going to look at two things. We're going to look first at how they actually go and collect it, and then we're going to look at how you do the different search options. So what we're interested in now is how the search engines go and get the data. And they have programs called spiders or robots or web crawlers. Now, sometimes when you hear the term bot, it refers to a machine that has been compromised and is under someone else's control and is sending out spam or being involved in attacks. Or sometimes a bot is a program running in a multi-user game that isn't really a person. Or you can have a bot in a chat room or something trying to pass themselves off as human. But not all bots are. Well, actually, when you use the term bot, it often means evil. But there are robots for the search engines as well doing jobs. So we call them spiders, robots, bots, or web crawlers. And what they do is when they find a page, they index it, and they look at all the links from that page to other pages, and then they go to those other pages and index those. And if there's links on those, they go to other pages and index those. And in fact, one of the key quality metrics Google used in the early days was the number of pages that link to your site. So if your site, the theory went was if your site was useful, lots of other people would link to it. Now people don't generate links so much anymore. Although now with social networking, they generate them a lot again, I think. So we'll see. But anyway, so the spiders follow links from page to page. So it might have indexed a page, and there might be 3 links on that page to other pages. So it would then go and index those 3 pages, and then if there was links on those, it would go index those. And if there was links on those pages, it would go follow those, and so on. So that way then, site by site, page by page by page, link by link by link, Google would probably eventually find you. It would have been very interesting actually to put some freaky search terms on your McLovin web pages and Google to see if Google had found them. And then maybe when you put the links on your blogs, see how long it took for Google to go and follow the links from your blogs to your McLovin web pages and see. Would have been interesting, but I imagine it's found them by now. No, it may have decided they're crap and not bothered with them. But it'd be interesting to see if you could if there was some search terms if you had your name on your site and some strange word, if you did a search for all those things, if it found those pages on Praxis that you used. Also, you can just say to a search engine, "Hi, I have a new site, could you go index it for me, please?" And if you are publishing a completely new site, that might be the way to go, because I'm sure Google would find you eventually, but of course, it might take a while. If you're, the internet's big and you might be in some obscure little corner of it. So at least if you tell Google that your site's there, it can go index it, and then at least you'll be at the races. So it might find you eventually anyway, but you might be in a hurry. Okay? Now, some web crawlers then, some of them do different things. They have different features and characteristics. And that can have an impact on not just on how the search works, but on how your site is designed. Okay? And one of the main differences is the depth of the crawl. So a spider's coming to your website and looks at the first page and it sees, okay, the site is about this, I've indexed that page, and then you might have 6 links to 6 subsections. You might follow those 6 links to those 6 subpages in your hierarchy, and then it might say, okay, stick a fork in me, I'm done. You know, I'm not doing any more now here. I've kind of indexed this site and I've gone down 1 level, and that's me done. Others might go, okay, here's the top level, and then there's the 6, subsections, and then each of those subsections has like 3 subsections underneath, and then some of those have others and others. And so your site might be a big, huge, complex hierarchy of pages and subpages, sections and subsections. And some spiders might go into every single nook and cranny of that. So that's great if they do. But some of them might not. And so if you're not clear on your first page, and maybe on the pages off that first page, if it's not clear what your site is about, if you haven't said everything you need to say in that subset of your site, maybe you're missing out. So maybe better to have a shallow hierarchy. Now, it depends how much content you have as well. But a shallow hierarchy might be more useful than a very, very deeply nested one. So that's something to consider. You can also say to spiders, don't look at this. Now, if you need to be saying to a spider, don't look at this, you're probably doing something you shouldn't be doing anyway. But let's imagine, for example, that your website is going to have 100 pages, right? And you've got 10 of them done, and 10 of them are really, really good, and the other 90, well, they're crap. If the spider comes and indexes your whole site, well, it'll quite reasonably conclude, well, that site's 90% crap. No, the 10 pages that are very, very good might be very, very good, but their reputation would be harmed by their association with the crap pages. So what you can say to a spider is, don't look at these pages. And you might find then that the 10 pages that are good would be ranked higher than they would have been if they were out there with the other 90 pages that weren't so good. Because you don't want your good content being lost and diluted in a sea of irrelevant content. No, really you shouldn't be putting the 90 crap pages on the web anyway. But if for some reason you have to do that, you can say to the spiders, okay, look, don't look at this stuff yet. So there are things you can do. There's a meta tag called robots where you can say no index. And that would say to the robot, look, ignore this page. You found this page, yip-de-doo, but ignore it. Many web pages, many websites where people can leave comments say to the bots, don't follow any links in the comment section. So the comment section would be marked off as don't follow any links here. And that means then that the spammers don't get to traffic from there, but also it means that you're not associated with any of the spam that's in there. Your site doesn't get flagged as something that's just, links to crap. There's a no follow attribute for a href where you can say to a spider, here's a link to another web page, but don't go there. I know that's what you do, you follow links to other pages, but don't follow this one. Or you can also have a robots.txt file where you specify to the spider what things it should look at, what things it shouldn't. And the robots.txt is fairly common. Now that's all voluntary. So someone could write a spider that just ignores all those things. And why, but like Google isn't interested in crap. And if it's your website, if you wrote it, and you think those 90 pages are crap, well, you know, that's information Google can use. You know, if you think it's crap and you wrote it, maybe it's best to avoid it. So that's something to remember. But as a general rule, if something is not ready for publication, then you shouldn't publish it. If it's a secret, like, you definitely shouldn't put it on the web and hope no one stumbles upon it. It's certainly not a place for secrets, you know. So don't say like, oh, well, I put this stuff on the web, but I put in a robots.txt telling the robots not to go there, so it's grand. No, it's not. You know, if it was that secret, it shouldn't be on the web where anyone can find it. So although it's a voluntary system that the web crawlers use, it's in their interests. It's in Google's interests, it's in all search engines' interests not to be indexing things that are probably no good. Because it's work and money and can affect the quality of the results. So they generally abide by it. Any questions on any of that? So we shall continue all this in a little while.